Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 53 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
Yeah, and I'm your host, Brian. And I hope you guys had a nice Passover and Easter, depending on what you celebrate. My family celebrates both, and hope you guys did not have any night of the leapuses, I guess.
We actually had a really good Easter. We had a bunch of people over. We had like 15 people over. It was almost like Thanksgiving. Everybody brought food. I mean, it was like seriously like a second Thanksgiving. And we had a big Easter egg hunt for the kids. We hid almost 200 eggs in our tiny backyard.
Oh my God. How'd you get 200 eggs?
We just had it. We keep them every year. So we've amassed this.
Oh, they're plastic. Okay,
yeah,
I thought they were like legit eggs.
No, they weren't legit. They were plastic. But every single one, I made sure every single one had candy or money in it. So we had over 200 eggs full of prizes. So the kids had a ball. Nicely
done, Mr. Tim.
Thank you. Yeah, we really lived it up this Easter. So I guess we'll get right into it. We got a pretty big show this week compared to last week. So let's get right into our first chop. Okay, once again, I took a week off of the backlog project. Doesn't mean I'm abandoning it.
Oh,
I'm not
boy,
abandoning
here it goes again.
No. But there's just so much fascinating stuff out there to watch that I was just curious about. And I was still kind of on that Lords of Salem kick from last week. I still wanted something a little witchy. So I tracked down Season of the Witch from 1972. This is the George Romero film.
I think it's on, was it on Netflix or Shudder? One of them, right? Or
it's
Amazon?
It was on Prime. Yeah,
Prime,
it was on Amazon
right.
Prime.
Okay.
Yep.
I knew it's one of the big three there that we use.
Yeah, now this one, man, this is a strange movie. It's very, I would hesitate to even call it horror. I would almost call it more of a, I don't know, some kind of like dark drama or thriller, maybe. Very, very slow paced. It involves a housewife who's basically bored with her life. You know, she sits at home. Her husband goes to work, works all the time. She's getting older. She sees her youth vanishing, and she's just kind of disgusted with her life. And she has these constant dreams and visions of her growing old and having done nothing with her life. And so she winds up getting in with this circle of friends, one of whom is a witch. And she decides to go down this path of becoming a witch. And the interesting thing about the movie, aside from all the tons and tons of dream sequences there are, is that you never really get a good idea of whether she's actually doing magic or if this is all wishful thinking.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the gimmick of the movie. It's kind of cool because it's kind of a psychological horror where you don't really know what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, so sometimes I think I like when films do that sometimes, because there's obviously the realistic, it's more of a realistic horror when you think about it, when people because how many times have your mind played tricks on you with stuff, and it's when you see it like that rather than actually just like her really becoming a witch, which is far-fetched. Like sometimes it's psychological because it really is like, you're like, wow, she's really believing this. This could actually happen, and it's kind of, it could be freaky if this would to really happen to somebody.
Yeah, I can't say that it was like a fantastic movie, but considering it was by George Romero, it's very interesting. It's an interesting film, and it has obviously it uses the Donovan song "Season of the Witch" to good effect in there, so it's got a good soundtrack. But it's interesting. I'll just put it that way. It's interesting.
But no Silver Shamrock, though, right?
No Silver Shamrock, no.
Okay.
All right. And then there's one we have to talk about, Brian, that we both saw this past weekend, which was phenomenal. Phenomenal film. It's getting a lot of buzz on my Facebook groups, and this one is called The Terrifier. It's actually from 2016. It's just now, I guess, available for rent, I guess. It must have just came out because people are just now talking about it. It's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, and you can order it. They actually have it on Amazon for, I think it's like $22. You can order it, a Blu-ray version, and a Blu-ray DVD set you can buy. And I think I just rented it. I think it was like $3.99 or something like that, or $4.99 maybe. And Yeah, I got to tell you, Tim had told me, he goes, you got, I think I may watch this tonight. So it intrigued me. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll watch it too, He's having a relaxing evening last night at home. So I said, all right, maybe I'll rent it too. And, he says it's killer clown movie. And but it's getting a lot of buzz. So I'm like, okay, let me check this out. And I watched the trailer and I'm like, wow. I said, this kind of looks a little different. And let me tell you, this, I mean, we all know there's, the killer clown movies are a dime a dozen. People have fear of clowns. Well, let me tell you, if you didn't before, this one could do it for you, because this clown. I saw someone say something like along these lines, but I got to, and I don't remember what he compared it to, but I'll say this one. He compared basically what this clown, Art the Clown, made Pennywise look like, and I said, like, yeah, it made Pennywise to me look like Ronald McDonald. Like, that's how creepy and freaky and sadistic this clown in the movie is.
Yeah, this is like a sort of a throwback slasher film. It even kind of has the look of kind of a low-budget 80s slasher film in a way. But it's about basically this clown, I guess he's called Art the Clown, and his night of terror. And this is one of the most brutal, is the only word I can think of to describe it. It's brutal slasher. And usually when you see stuff like all I could think of when I was watching this was Hatchet. So Hatchet has these over-the-top, crazy gore kills, and your instinct is to laugh at them because they're so over-the-top, they're funny. Yeah. This has the same level of just over-the-top kills, but they're not funny at all. They're actually realistic in a way. It makes it super, super literally terrifying, no pun intended, but
yeah. No, I know what you mean. And they actually, and it's funny, it was like they kept, every time you would think it would go a certain way, it would either go that way, but so over the top more than you would ever expect, like you'd expect a cutaway that just never comes, or they would just surprise you with like something that's even more sadistic than you could possibly imagine was going to happen. So it was constantly kept you going like, whoa, it's like I'm trying to think of a movie that actually did that for me recently. I can't think of one that was quite like this, where it was actually like, it was kind of like disturbing on a level, but you couldn't look away because it was just so well done.
Yeah, it's like you said, it subverts a lot of the things that you think are going to happen, the typical horror movie plots and events that happen. It sometimes it zigs when you think it's going to zag, and vice versa. But man, this is a killer movie, man. I was deeply impressed with this film. Like, it's the best slasher I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it was, and I would even just calling it just a straight slasher, because there was some other kind of mind things going on in that movie. With some of the characters, the side characters were like, it was like it had a little bit of everything in it, in all honesty. And and it even had some of the it did have a couple of the typical horror tropes, but they just they skewed it just enough to make it like it's like I don't even want to go. I have trouble like describing it without going into specifics, which I would never do for this, because I think you definitely need to see this yourself.
Yeah, to me, this is could potentially be a new horror icon in the making right here.
Oh yeah.
That's how good this villain is.
Yeah, and I will say this. I will say it's got to be one of, and Tim, now you can probably attest to this too, because since you've been to New York last summer, they had to. I mean, I assume it took place in New York just because of she had a Metro card in one scene you saw in her wallet or whatever. So I'm assuming it's the New York tri-state area at least. But the thing is I tell you, they had the most realistic New York pizza guy in movie history, I think. In that movie.
I think we ate there, didn't we?
I swear to God,
the place we ate?
No, it wasn't. But yeah, you could have been. You know how we said how in Revelation Trail, the guy that played the sheriff could have been plucked out anywhere. So this guy could have plucked out of any New York pizzeria. and just put into this movie. That's how good he was.
He might have been. For all we know.
He may have been. And I know it just sounds silly to point out, but it added to just that realism of the way the grittiness of this movie was. It was just so funny because I was like, oh my God, this guy got a legit pizza guy here.
Yeah, but go rent this one.
Yeah.
Like, it's well worth the $4 or $5. Just do it. Civil Gore, A+, stamp of approval. Go watch this one.
Yeah, and it's funny too. It has the 3 B's in it. Although at some point, that one of the B's, I will tell you, which in boobs, is not in the way you exactly want to see them. I'll tell you that.
That's right. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. If we didn't entice you enough to see this, but yeah, I in fact, I was telling people today at work. I was talking to Steve Cohen through text. I was like, guys, I gotta tell you, you gotta want to see a movie that's gonna kind of mess with your head and really traumatize you a little bit. You gotta go see the Terrifier, because that clown by far is probably the scariest clown I've seen on film, I think. Sorry, Pennywise, but yeah, no way. You're not even close to this guy.
The next one up that I saw was one I just happened across on Amazon Prime, and I saw that was an anthology, and it was narrated by Rod Serling. So now you've got my ears pricked up.
Oh, yeah.
And this one was called Encounter with the Unknown. I had never heard of this movie. 1972. And it truly is an anthology. It has 3 stories, and the loose tie-in is that there's some claim that this guy back in the 70s did this paranormal study, and he realized that a great number of hauntings could all be traced back to 27 cemeteries. So like hundreds and thousands of these hauntings could all be traced back to these 27 cemeteries. And so they were going to take a look at this one cemetery and pluck 3 tales out of it. And the first tale was about these kids basically dare this other kid to go up and ask for this girl at this random house. Well, what the kid going up to the house doesn't know is that the girl doesn't live there. So it's just a harmless prank, to embarrass the kid, right? Well, he knocks on this old lady's house. She doesn't know who he is. She gets startled. She shoots him, and he dies. Yikes. So now the mom...
Prank gone wrong.
Yeah, prank gone wrong. So now the mom of the boy that died curses the friends and tells them, with some kind of symbolism of 7 that they're going to die. And so the story's about... It had a feel of Final Destination to it. Like, like you're going to die and you don't know when or where, or you kind of know, but you don't know. And is it all in your head, or is this
kind of Stephen King a little bit too?
It was kind of interesting for it to be that early. Just that plot line was kind of interesting. Not a great segment, but like I said, the plot was interesting. The second story was my favorite of the bunch. This one takes place in 1906, and it's about a boy who discovers this essentially bottomless pit on his farmland. And there's these weird moaning noises coming out of it. And so it's about the townspeople kind of investigating this hole in the ground. And it had a very Creepshow vibe to it, a very comic book, Tales from the Crypt type vibe to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like one of those Volta horrors, Tales from the Crypt.
The third one I was probably the most disappointed in. The third one was a retelling of the Lady on the Bridge story. You've also heard this one, the ghostly hitchhiker sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the woman that you pick up the woman, and then she tells you to drop her off at her house, and you drop her off, and then the dad comes to the door and says, "My daughter's been dead for 7 years," or whatever.
Yeah, the classic. Yeah.
Yeah, the classic. So it's a retelling of that, but then they go into this whole backstory of how the girl fell in love, and it goes on and on and on. This totally unnecessary backstory of who the girl was, and it just goes nowhere.
See, that makes no sense. Why to do that? The whole point was that you didn't know who this girl was. You find that she's dead in the typical story. The more you know about her, probably makes it less freaky.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Start to feel bad for her instead of being afraid of her. Yeah, that probably just changes the whole emotional.
Yeah, it was completely unnecessary. And then they tack on this weird, I actually timed it. It was 5 or 6 minute ending where they basically recap every story. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen in a movie. It's basically they went back and were like, these men were told they would have 7 days to live. And then they would go back and show clips from the movie you just watched.
What?
Literally go back and show clips of it. And then like
That
they would
is so weird.
Yeah, they would replay scenes, and then they would go back to the hole, and they would show like clips from that. And this boy found a hole on his farm, and I'm like, why did they put this at the end of the movie? I just watched the movie. I don't need a recap of it.
Was it like a TV show, maybe split into 3 parts at one point, and they just tacked it on for like the movie release?
Maybe. I don't know anything about this movie. It was just a complete random find. But
That's weird.
So if you're gonna watch it, it's interesting, especially for the middle segment. The other two, not so much. But let me tell you, what I found the most fascinating about this whole movie is the color was so bad. Like, this film was in such bad shape that I don't know if you ever remember going to Sears when you were a kid and getting like portraits done at Sears.
Oh, God,
and then,
every
like,
year.
Yeah, then you go back and look at them today, and they got that red tint to them because like the color faded or whatever. This whole movie looked like that.
Oh,
like if any movie needed a remaster color correction, it's this one. Although God help whoever has to color correct this movie, because
Come on, Vinegar Syndrome. Come on, Vinegar Syndrome.
Oh my God, it looks like crap. It was the most crappy quality. Olivia walked in and basically her jaw dropped. She's like, "What the hell are you watching?
What's wrong with your TV, Tim?"
It looks so bad, but
Oh,
I kind of found it a little bit charming too, because I'm a sucker for like weird looking stuff like that. Like it fascinates me.
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, tell me about Der Bunker.
Okay, yeah. So I forgot what led me to this on Shudder, but I don't know if it was. I know you had said you were thinking of watching it at one point because something you saw led you to that. So maybe I don't know what I read. Maybe mentioned it or something, and then I saw it, and it just in your head it connected.
It comes up on Shudder a lot. I see it a lot.
It does. Maybe that's what it is. But I'm gonna read to you just a description that Shudder gives you, just to see what you're in for with this. I'm obviously not going to go into spoilers, but here's what it says. A student rents a windowless room in a bunker nestled deep within a forest. Instead of finding tranquility for his studies, the young man, Der Samurai's Pit Bukowski. So this guy's in every movie that starts Der, apparently. Pit Bukowski becomes involved with the surreal dramas of his landlord's family. They include the stern father, his wife, whose swollen leg almost takes a life of its own, and the precocious 8-year-old son, Klaus, played by 33-year-old actor Daniel Frappan.
Oh,
so
my
you got a little
God.
Peter Bark thing going in there, yeah. And if you look at the picture that they show, he just looks creepy. It says, initially friendly and welcoming, the situation grows increasingly bizarre. A funny, visually arresting, and unsettling modern fairy tale. Der Bunker is a unique vision from bold new talent, Nakias Chrysos. And it's only from 2015, so it's not that old. It's in German in subtitles, but I mean, this thing is wacky. I mean, for some reason I couldn't stop laughing every time the father character comes on there, because he's got this like, this almost like, he reminds me of something you would see in like an animation. The guy, and and then the son obviously is played by a 33-year-old man playing a kid with this bowl cut. This like something look like a Hansel and Gretel or something.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. So basically, long story short, the way this guy goes to try and finish his studies, and they realize that he now has to. Like, they realize he's smart, so they want him to teach his son Klaus, who's just not learning fast enough. And so they literally have a school set up in this bunker, complete with bell that goes off when it's done, and a little classroom. And they keep trying to get the Klaus to learn the capitals, and he's just getting them all wrong. And it's hilarious, some of the things that come out of his mouth. Like, one of the answers was Massachusetts instead of Massachusetts. It's just random. And yeah, so on top of it, the thing about the mother's leg, who apparently she has this gaping, swollen, like, gash in her leg, and she talks to it, and it's named Heinrich. And it's
I'm having Crusoe flashbacks here.
Yeah, it's along those lines, and it's got this voice that goes like that, and the whole time Klaus is trying to learn, and it's so bizarre. But it was like I was like couldn't, one of those things you have to like, you couldn't turn off because you got to see what happens, and it's still entertaining and silly. So, and I mean, the horror element, it's listed as horror, comedy, it's all of them, like, fairy-ish, fantasy. It's kind of got a mix of all of it, but I definitely see why it's a horror, because you're kind of creeped out the whole time. And I will just tell you, there is a for the plot I told you, there's an odd amount of breastfeeding in this, so I'll leave it at that.
Again, Peter Bark.
Again, I'm telling you, it's like it's got the Peter Bark vibe to it with that. But yeah, so this one you guys gotta check out. You want something wacko? That's definitely one for the Put it along with your Kuso, your Greasy Strangler, and
oh my gosh,
and this. You have a nice like triple threat there of odd.
Well, the last one I watched is also available on Shudder, and this is a series. It's a British series that I had heard some really good buzz about, and it is called Inside Number 9. And this is a 6-episode anthology series. The episodes are only a half hour, so I actually binge watched the whole thing in one day.
Right, you can go right through it, yeah.
And, man, I'm telling you, this is a phenomenal series. I love British writing anyway. Some of their television writers are just like so clever and the sense of humor and everything. This one is by a couple of guys from that show, The League of Gentlemen, that you might have heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of Steve Pemberton and Reese Shearsmith are the two writers, and they also star in most of the episodes. And they play different characters in each episode. And I'm telling you, they're so good, like you would never confuse them. I mean, you'd almost think it's different actors every time because they're so good. But this show is almost like a comedic Black Mirror because it uses but it's a very, very dark comedy. When you first start watching it, you're going to think this is straight comedy. But every episode, I promise you, has a horror twist to it.
Oh, cool.
Or a very dark twist to it. And all the episodes are very, very different. The writing is brilliant. The performances are brilliant. It's one of those shows I could actually see me going back and watching some episodes over again. So definitely check that one out on Shudder, Inside Number 9. It's well worth your time.
I saw it listed there. I wasn't sure what it was, so I didn't. But now I think I might have to check that out.
Okay, and Brian, you also got to see Ready Player One this weekend, which I unfortunately did not get to go see.
Yeah, so I will be very vague with it. I'll just give my overall impressions. I mean, definitely there's some cool horror things in there, which some great Easter eggs and nods in there that I will not say. I know some are obviously shown in the trailer. You may have seen those, but in case Tim is not aware of some of them, I'm not going to mention them. But just there's definitely something for horror fans in there. And I being a big fan of the book. Immediately when I read that book, I said, wow, I would love to see this in a movie, but I just know that there is no way they could ever truly capture the way the book was on film. It was just, I mean, not even mentioning the intellectual properties. It's just there's too much going on. It would have probably been in a friend of mine had kind of mentioned this, saying that most likely it would have had to been split into to 3 movies, and I saw someone else, like an article, mention this too. Would have probably done like a split into 3 movies if you're trying to be super faithful to the book. And we know lately that has not worked well. I mean, what was it? The Divergent series? I think the last one got canceled.
Yeah, that hasn't worked out too well lately. I mean, that was all the rage back. Remember when Hunger Games and Lord of the Rings,
Twilight, right? Didn't they do that?
Yeah,
and they kind of split the last film into 2. But with Ready Player One, I don't think that would have worked well anyway, because the momentum is exciting, and to split that up into 3 films would be just you lose steam kind of. But I mean, I loved all the Hunger Games. That worked okay for me, but from what I understand, the Maze Runner, which I haven't seen all of them yet, it fizzles out towards the 3rd one a little bit. And so I'm glad what he did is they just basically took the spirit of the book and kind of just, kind of got the same, obviously, basic plot to the book, and, still got a ton of IPs thrown in there. I mean, there's just Easter eggs. I mean, I read a list that was, it capped at over 158 that they could catch. And there's just little ones that fun. And part of the fun of this film is discovering them. And, I know I'm going to go see it again because I want to see it on IMAX 3D if possible. Because we saw it on a great screen. We had perfect seats and it was digital quality. And it was just done so well. And they just had a cool, even the real scenes, obviously the computer graphic scenes were, will blow you away. But even when they switched back to the live action sequences, it even they somehow, I assume they just put a filter, a lighting filter on the end and made it feel like it was from the 80s too. So I kind of just had a really good,
cool.
Yeah, everything works so well. It's probably one of the most enjoyable films you'll see. It's classic Spielberg magic. Everything that you for those that, I know there are people that just don't like Spielberg, well, that's fine, but people who like me, who grew up on him and love his films, this is like the most Spielberg-y type of movie you could find. You'll just enjoy the hell out of this thing from the second it starts, and it's one of those films that just keeps going. It's like boom. I've seen criticism it slows down in the third act. I didn't agree. I found every second enjoyable, and I can't wait to see it again. So I know, Tim, you will love it.
Sweet, yeah, I can't wait.
And,
I'm hoping to.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be this weekend, but maybe it'll still be in theaters.
Oh yeah, I think this will have some good legs to it, because I think I don't think it's funny, because someone made a point that oh yeah, it's funny for a film. I think it was Seth actually said, he goes, a film filled with Easter eggs and it came out on Easter weekend basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And so this is a good weekend and sometimes a tough weekend, I guess, to probably catch a movie. So I think it's going to be one of those where it may actually get more steam the second weekend, which will probably give it at least 3 to 4 weeks of it being the top, until probably I could see it actually being as strong up there up until the Infinity War comes out at the end of April. So yeah, definitely go check Ready Player One out. It's got something for pretty much everybody in this, and just a great fun film.
So, speaking of weekends, we got a big one coming up, we hope, if the weather holds out.
Yeah.
It's looking a little chilly right now, but Brian and I are planning to go to King's Dominion on Saturday and check out their newest ride, Twisted Timbers.
Yes, which is got actually a horror theme to it. It's basically a haunted apple grove.
That's right, yeah.
So
yep,
there you
right.
go. You got a little bit of horror added to their roller coaster there.
Yeah, and of course, I'm going just to pad my coaster count.
Yeah.
Brian's already got most of his credits, although he will get a Lucy's Krabby Cabby credit.
Yes,
possibly.
Thanks to Joshua.
Yeah, thanks to my kids. So, but we are going to announce our first ever, hopefully the first of many, Civil Gore Boo Blaster Challenge.
Yes, Tim and I will go against each other to play the Blue Bastards. Doing well. Yeah, Blue Bastards. No, Boo Blaster game, which I'm sure they have a lot of, most of them at every theme park nowadays. Think of like Toy Story, Midway Mania, or Buzz Lightyear, or Men in Black. It's basically a dark ride shooter combo. The ones at Cedar Fair parks are usually named Boo Blasters. I think it used to be called Boo Blaster on Boo Hill, right? Now I think they just nicknamed it Boo Blasters, right?
Carowinds is still called Boo Blasters on Blue.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it might be here too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Didn't it used to be themed to Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, that was what the original one was.
Yeah,
way back when they came out, it was Scooby-Doo. And for some reason, they switched the license on it. I don't know why. And then it just became like a generic Boo Blasters. And I think even when they don't call it that, it's the same ride at every park. Like, even I think Lake Compounds has the same, like a shorter version of it. And it's pretty much the same thing with that mad scientist talking about his gun. So you've seen the ride before, but it's always kind of fun. I suck at it, so the odds are if you're a betting person, you might as well bet on Tim, because I could just not. For some reason I cannot do well on that. The only thing I did good was on. Well, I actually did not too bad on Toy Story, but I did great on the Men in Black because I read a little tip on when to hit this thing to get 100,000 points. So I managed to do that. And then I think I could have sworn one of the things was broken one time at one other ones, and I ended up getting 1,000,000 points or something crazy. I think that's the counter was broken.
I'm pretty decent at Boo Blasters. I wouldn't consider myself great, but I can usually get, if not the top, I can get second from the top ranking at the end.
Yeah, so basically bet on Tim if you guys are...
But this is a new one to me. I have never done this Boo Blasters. I've only done the Carowinds and the Kings Island ones.
Yeah, I think this isn't the one with the hidden Clint in it, they said, like with a guy wearing a beanie in it. I think.
Oh, all those have that.
Oh, ours they do? So it's not really Clint?
Ours has a hidden Clint, too. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And then the next one up, this was, so yeah, look forward to that. We're going to post some videos and stuff while we're up there. And we're probably going to be freezing our tails off. We're going to look like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining. But
yeah, so another horror theme thing. And we'll have to post some stuff for the night before at the Answer Pub with some good beer pairing, future beer pairings.
Yeah, for sure. So. And then next up, this was a article that I had read, and then Brian had also pointed out that I'm really excited for. This is a line of Funko horror cereals.
Yes. Which
like
I can't
cereals.
believe it took this long to really do this. With the success of the monster cereals for years, how
So
no one has even made these yet.
They're going to have Freddy, Elvira, Cuphead, which is not really horror. That's a Xbox game. It's a really cool game.
Yeah, he's just there. He's just there.
Freddy Funko.
Yeah,
and
another
they come
Freddy.
with mini pop figures, but they're $8 a box.
Yeah, they are. But I read something today. It's funny. I don't know if I missed this in the first article or they just didn't mention it. But I read another article today because I wanted to make sure I got all the ones listed. That apparently the cereal has they have it so when you add the milk, like the Freddy becomes like a blood red. And the Beetlejuice, I guess there's a Beetlejuice cereal coming eventually, and it's like this green sliminess.
Oh,
and
okay.
And so and Elvira I think is blood red too. Although it looks like it's black cereal. So I don't know if they may have got that one wrong. Maybe it just the milk turns really black and dark, like Elvira's hair or something. But yeah, so each cereal not only does. Yeah, they said it's funny. No one knows what it's going to taste like yet, but they said it's like, they really go good with the theming. Like, it literally will change the milk, the color that they intended to. So it should be a very interesting thing. But they said, like, it's not like anyone's going to know what it tastes like because most people that will buy it will just keep it and not open it. I think I will have to buy an extra box just to try it to see this, to see how this color-changing milk does.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Oh, I see. The Cuphead. Okay, it is kind of horror. I just looked at the picture. The Cuphead is actually one of the enemies in the game. One of the devil enemies. Okay. So he's sort of like a Satan devil figure.
I hope this continues, though, because I want like a Michael Myers cereal and
oh my gosh,
and a Jason Voorhees cereal. And Funko has a license to pretty much everything. So, what are they not going to have? Like, I'm sure, they may have a Cthulhu one, maybe, and a Pinhead, and, basically all those little mini-mates.
Cthulhu's or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. Cthulhuos. And, or it'd be cool, a Carrie one where it's the yellow cereal, but when you put the milk, it turns red, for the blonde hair turning red. Yeah. See, look at this. We're giving you ideas, so at least pay us back. Send us a case. Yeah, really. Maybe we could get like that thing Costa Radio had with the butter
ginger
beer,
remember?
Yeah, the Reed's ginger beer. Maybe if we just keep mentioning it every time and we'll hashtag it, they'll start sending us some samples.
There you go.
Get our Civil Gore name out there.
Well, we have a pretty big discmemberment this week, so let's get right into it. Here's our discmemberment for 4/10/18.
Wait, no, please, God, no, don't cut off my...
All right, so first up this week, we have a Dario Argento title, Deep Red, from 1975. This is a packed Arrow release. This looks like a really good one.
I don't think I've heard of this film he did. I thought I knew all his, but I don't remember this title for some reason.
I have heard of it. I have not seen it yet. Although I was thinking, when my backlog project's finished, I may try to pick up all his films. Just to have. I think it'd be cool to have.
And they don't have a box set of his, right? They, as far as you know, right?
Not that I'm aware. No, not that I'm aware. But this one, of course, directed by Dario Argento, starring David Hemmings, Darla Nicolodi, which I love that name, Nicolodi.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Lavia. After witnessing the murder of a famous psychic, a musician teams up with a feisty reporter to find the killer while evading attempts on their lives by the unseen assailant bent on keeping a dark secret buried.
Aren't all the reporters feisty?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you better be feisty if you're going to be a reporter.
Yeah. Look at Lois Lane. She was always feisty and got herself blown up almost in Paris.
Well, this one has some cool features. It's got a collectible booklet. It's got lobby card reproductions, which I always like those when they include those. Audio commentary featurette. So this is a really packed disc. I really need to pick up some Arrow titles because they, in terms of just like collector's editions, they certainly rival Scream Factory, it seems like, and some of their special editions. So
especially lately too, they've been hitting you with a lot of stuff. So
yeah, they've been upping their game. And the next one up is by a director that we'll hear about very shortly in our main feature, Larry Cohen. The disc title is Full Moon High from 1981. This is a horror comedy. This one's released by Shout Factory, starring Adam Arkin, Roz Kelly, and Ed McMahon.
Yes!
You are correct, sir.
Yes, you are correct, John.
So a teenager, Adam Arkin, which shows you how old this movie is.
Oh my God, he's a teenager.
Becomes a werewolf after a family vacation in Transylvania, and hijinks ensue, I guess.
Yeah. I think this is, I want to say I remember seeing the box to this back in the day in the video stores. I mean, it's right around that time when you would start, when it had all those classic 80s box arts. So I'm sure we've seen the box to this, I bet.
Yeah, if you've seen it, I've actually seen it. So it has sort of that cartoon caricatures of the main characters.
Yes. Okay, now I remember. And I have a feeling I've seen this back when it was on HBO. It's just now that I'm looking at the cast and thinking of this, and yeah, I think I've seen this.
This one also has a new audio commentary and a theatrical trailer. So,
oh my God, who's doing the autumn cut? Is it Adam Arkin going? When I was a teenager,
really.
It was before I did Halloween H2O.
The next one up is our AKA.
Sorry, that was a horrible impersonation. I don't know who that was, actually. It was supposed to be Adam Arkin, but I don't even think I came close to it.
I don't know how it... Well,
right?
Have we ever come close to any of our impressions? So what else is new?
Probably not. You're right. But Adam Arkin would be a good one to nail. I know he's got that kind of that lisp. I'm going to work on it. I think that's going to be my new claim to fame. I think I'm going to perfect the Adam Arkin. No one probably ever attempted it. I'm going to attempt it.
Yeah, he's not high on the list of impersonations, but
no,
you go
really
for
not. It. Yeah, we'll get him though. That we'll have him. It'll be a Civil Gore exclusive. Yeah.
The next one up is our AKA of the week, Enigma Rosso, aka Rings of Fear. It also had another AKA that I forgot to put down here, but it had another title as well.
Third one.
The year was 1978. The release company was Scorpion Releasing, and it was directed by Alberto Negrin, starring my favorite name.
I know. I'm lip cracking. I looked ahead and I'm like, oh God, Tim is never going to get through this.
Starring Italian porn star Fabio Testi.
Is he a porn star?
No.
He should be.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. With a name like that, if you're not, you missed your calling.
It was so funny. Right after you went to the director, I'm like, oh boy, here goes. Tim's not going to get through it. I see the name coming up.
Oh gosh. Fabio Testi, Christine Kaufman, and Ivan Desny. A detective investigating the murder of a teenage girl begins to focus his suspicions on the three girlfriends of the victim who call themselves the Inseparables.
Is Ivan Desny like the Russian guy that made the cartoons and then he made a theme park?
Yeah, Disney World.
Yeah, Disney World. Come to Disney World.
It
is wonderful here. A little bit colder, but it's still good.
You buy Mickey. Or Mikey. He's Mikey.
And don't forget, I sent my family to America, and they like to sell the fidget spinners. You thought he was gone, but he's back.
Yes, it is Mikey Moose. You buy Mikey Moose antlers. Oh, now that we've basically turned off our entire Russian audience, there we go.
Yes, I'm sorry. And don't forget the best flying dark ride attraction, Peter Putin. He's very fun. He's the boy that was afraid to grow up because he would have to still be in Russia. Okay. Oh boy.
Oh, we could go that all night.
That might have got us in some trouble. We'll see.
Yeah, our one Russian downloader just angrily hurled his phone into the garbage.
That's it. He's done.
This one has a brand new remaster with color correction. Another one with color correction.
Maybe we could send him over to your other movie.
Yeah, and a new audio commentary. Where are all these new audio commentaries coming from?
I know. It is from me. I will talk about film while you watch.
This will be a great one for our fake commentary idea we were thinking of.
Oh, right.
We'll just do it all in Russian.
Yeah.
The whole Russian commentary.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Listen. It being the theme. We're not really making fun of that. It's more like remember what's her Alison Brie's character in
exactly.
Glow.
Yeah, we're doing a
she
caricature.
Had to play the Russian. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a caricature. Yes. And we did meet Fidget Spinner guy, so he's like a real guy. We based it on.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. He still nice.
Yes, he
fidgets.
is. Yes, you're $10 only, and then you watch and it spins.
Wonder what he's doing now. Fidget spinners are no longer a thing.
They're not. I know he's got to be on like a new. What's the new kit going on now? What are people buying? Here's a Tide Pod. Eat, but don't eat it.
No. You're so behind the times. It's now condom snorting.
Oh my God!
It really is. That's
how did I miss?
Tide Pods are so last year.
Wow.
We're into condom snorting now.
I don't even know. I don't even have a joke for that because I don't understand what's been done. What do they do? They literally.
Do not try this at home. You take a condom and snort it up one side of your nose, and you're trying to pull it out the other side.
All right.
I'm serious.
I gotta call
I'm
a
dead
time out
serious.
here. Why? First of all, who thought that might be a fun idea?
Teenagers.
But
apparently.
where did they even think of that? I mean,
I have
obviously,
no
you
idea.
know.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess we should be glad that teenagers are possessing condoms, but I mean, they're doing
so
it
they
wrong.
don't breed. Yes, you're exactly right.
That really, oh God, I don't even.
As we just turned off our entire teenage audience, so sorry about that. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry guys.
The next one up is The
that's a
Psychopath.
doozy.
Speaking of condom sorting, The Psychopath, 1966. This is a Kino Lorber release, directed by Freddie Francis, starring Patrick Wymark, Margaret Johnston, and John Standing.
I don't know why I'm like. So do they? When he walks in, do they give him a standing ovation?
In his house, it's standing room only. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
This one, yeah. He's. I tell you though, he really is an upright citizen. Though. I gotta
Four men who were involved in the investigation of a German millionaire at the end of the Second World War are found murdered with tiny dolls left next to their corpses. So,
what?
I don't know. Yeah, they kind of threw that in there. I was just not expecting that. But anyway, new 4K restoration, an audio commentary, and a theatrical trailer. The Psychopath.
Yes.
All right. Up comes Brian's pick of the week, which is almost my pick of the week. You almost got it from me, but I went with a wild card.
Well, and that's why I went back with this, because I probably would have possibly picked the one you picked, but so it was really, these are interchangeable. I think these are obviously when we get to Tim's pick of the week that you could see why they were just both top of our list. But
yeah, so this one is Crucible of Horror from 1971. This is a Shout Factory release, directed by Victor Retelis, starring Michael.
Cue the Russian imitation again. No,
Oh God, yeah, here we go.
no, we'll leave him alone.
How do you pronounce this? Michael Go?
I always pronounced it because he was the one. He was Alfred in the Michael Keaton Batman.
I know. I feel
pronounced it
bad. I feel bad because I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I believe I heard it as Michael Gauche.
Really? Okay, Michael Gauche or
It could be,
G-O-U-G-H.
but I
Figure
mean,
it out. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be Goog. Goog.
Could be Gog.
I can't even say Gog.
Goug.
Goof.
Gouge.
Golf. Golf. Yeah, I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Take your pick.
really
Just
give
pick
it-
one.
I mean, it's Gough, so you can Goog. Like I tried 3 times, I still
it
can't
like
get it.
dough?
So
Is
it's
it go?
Goof. Yeah, I think it was Gauche, Michael Gauche. That's the way I've heard it said.
It's
Whether
interesting.
everyone else is wrong, I don't know.
It's Alfred from Batman. This second.
Yes, basically Alfred from Batman.
Yvonne Mitchell and Sharon Gurney.
Those are much easier to say.
Yeah. A mother and daughter hatch a scheme to murder their family's domineering and sadistic patriarch. New remaster, new interview, and theatrical trailer on that one. But I would like that one. I like that. I believe I've seen that one. I really like. I just love those early 70s.
A while ago. Yeah, and plus Shout Factory. You always got to give them a shout out. But no, yeah, you got to. Yeah, you're always gonna get something good from them. So. Until maybe almost any Shout Factory could be the pick of the week. In all honesty, because
really
even
could,
whatever
yeah.
movie it is, they just do such a good job because they put their care into it.
And even the ones that aren't like collector's editions that don't have a ton of extras, they're still really, really good.
Right.
I mean, they're good quality. The next one up is Superbeast, which was oddly enough, that's my wife's nickname for me. That's what a coincidence. Anyway, year 1972. Released by Shout Factory, directed by George Schenk, starring Antoinette Bauer, Craig Littler, and Harry Lauder.
What is this? This guy's smaller, this guy's louder? What's going on? And the other guy's Bauer. Yeah, what's going on here?
A doctor finds a jungle laboratory complete with mad scientists and genetic engineering experiments.
That's good. It's like when you like when it comes with everything you need there, because the jungle laboratory should come complete with mad scientists, so you feel gypped.
Batteries not included, but everything else is there.
Yes, mad scientists and genetic experiments. But when you run out, you have to then order the replacement pack of genetic experiments.
I could not find the special features for this one, but I'm sure it's got to at least have a trailer on it. I'm sure.
Yeah, Chow Factory. They're gonna have something.
The next one up is My Friend Dahmer from 2017, released by Filmrise, which is a new company I had not seen on the list before. And it may be that they don't release a lot of horror or something, but this one kind of is classified horror. Directed by Mark Myers, starring Ross Lynch, Alex Wolff, and Anne Hesh. A young Jeffrey Dahmer struggles to belong in high school.
This almost sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It does.
Just the description of it, Or My Friend Dahmer. It feels like it's like My Buddy, like that toy. Remember that was kind of Chucky, kind of had the vibe from. It's like hey everybody, what are you doing today? I'm gonna hang out with my friend Dahmer. It's like a sitcom type of but it's like I could see like SNL totally making a skit off of this, except now it's a real movie. So
yeah, this was based on a comic book actually of a guy that really did go to school with Jeffrey Dahmer. So
wow, okay, it's almost it's like that other. It's almost like a My Neighbors Are Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. So the next one up is my pick of the week. This is the Grindsploitation trilogy.
There you go.
2016-2017. This is a Troma release, so you know what you're getting here.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have a director or star and I'll explain when you see the synopsis, you'll understand why.
Makes sense, yeah.
3 times the gore, sex, blood, and violence, the Grindsploitation trilogy is an abundance of faux film trailers, short films, and nostalgic features harkening back to the era of exploitation and grindhouse cinema. Each film compiles over 20 directors from around the world, producing a new wave of cold-blooded talent. There is terror, horror, comedy, and science fiction for you to experience, with almost 100 films in total. Make sure your doors are locked, popcorn at your side, and that you are ready to experience something that you have never seen before. So basically, this is a collection of 3 of their Grindsploitation films that they put out, which are basically, like it says, it's just a hodgepodge of trailers and short films and all kinds of craziness. I could just see like having this box set so you could just throw on at parties or whatever to just have playing in the background. Oh my god, it'd be perfect for that. So and
that it was funny, the guy, I don't know if you watch the show Comic Book Man, based with Kevin Smith's comic book store in Red Bank, and they actually had the Troma Guys come on in a recent episode. And they were basically the 4 guys got to try out for a role in the Troma film, and it was hilarious because they had all the fake vomit stuff they all had to act all crazy, and like Ming won the role. He's like a big Troma fan, so it's funny because they had all the characters. Like they had a guy dressed as Toxic Avenger. They had all the people in, so it was really fun to do because they had this whole thing where they came in on like a Troma conga line. It was classic.
I met one of the guys from Toxic Avenger at Monster Mania.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got a friend of ours poster signed from him. If you go back to our Monster Mania episode, you probably heard me talking about it. I can't remember now. It's been so long. But the last one on our list, well, not the last one. It's the last one we'll talk in detail about. Disembodied from 1998. And boy, this one gets the award for Best Synopsis. This was released by Brink, another one I have not heard of before on the Discmemberment section. Directed by William Kirsten, starring Anastasia Wolverton, Hannah Neese, and James Diedrichsen. There you go, Diedrichsen. You have to. It's one of those things you have to say multiple times.
Yeah, it's spelled longer than it should be said, probably.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Buckle your seatbelt for this one. The story of Connie Sprouts, a likable young woman with the sad problem of a spore-generating deformity on her face, which causes difficulties in her day-to-day life, such as dissolving into a gelatinous mass anyone who is to be devoured by the neural parasite that inhabits her skull, which is empty due to the fact that she stores her brain in a jar beside her bed.
What? I'm reading that as you were saying along, and I'm still confused.
Let that soak in. I don't know. You just have to go with it.
So she dissolve, but so does she dissolve into a gelatinous mass? Or she can dissolve a person. She
dissolves others into a gelatinous mass. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I know you copy this verbatim, so that's why I'm trying to say it's like no.
Yeah,
it's
I always copy. I copy these with the grammar intact because to get the full effect.
It's funny.
The storing the brain in a jar reminds me of that Beatles song "Eleanor Rigby," where the Keeps her face in a jar by the side of the door. That always freaked me out when I was younger when I heard that song. Because like in my mind, I was thinking of like she literally stored her face in a jar.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't until I was older that I realized they were talking about makeup. But
yeah, damn.
Next two up are just re-releases. I didn't put a lot of info here because they're just re-releases of previous discs. I want to say, and I don't know this as a fact, but I think it's because they're putting them out with the digital copy included. I think this is why these are being re-released. That's just a guess because they're both Universal titles. The Purge, Election Year, and Crimson Peak.
Gotcha. Yeah, I bet you that's what they're doing. Although I want to say the versions I have the DVD and digital copy also, but
yeah,
you never know.
Theatrical releases, we have a big one this weekend, one that my wife really, really, really wants to see. She's been begging me to see this. In fact, she will probably take me to this before she'll take me to Ready Player One. That's how much she wants to see this movie.
Yeah, this one looks amazing.
And it's getting really, really good reviews. It's A Quiet Place. And if you've seen the trailer, it's basically a family on the run or hiding or something from some kind of creatures that are attracted to noise.
Yeah.
And so I guess the majority of the film, I would presume, is going to be fairly silent.
Well, I read something where they said that don't think of it as a silent film because there is other sounds in it that and that are basically like its own character. So I guess whatever they're hiding from makes a sound.
Yeah, I would say this was one you would have to see in the theater.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to go see this, try and see this the first week of the theater, because I could see this being one where, like, you don't want to be spoiled by anything. Right. So as a Civil Gore promise, if we go to see this, we will not spoil anything. We'll just, give our, like it or not, or skip it or see it kind of thing. But
so let's get to our feature of the week, Q the Winged Serpent. I think the movie is actually just called Q, but you also see it referenced as Q the Winged Serpent.
Yeah, it's like listed as Q, but I remember it was always said, I was on the box that said the Winged Serpent, so I don't know if that ever really. It's like, it's funny. It depends on where you look what it's listed as. Like, it could have been one of those ones where it was originally just Q, and people are like, what the hell is this? So they added the Winged Serpent to it to maybe get people to see it, and they're in re-releases or in other countries. I don't know. But either way, it doesn't matter because it should be called the Q. Probably don't watch this, but it had its entertainment value. I'm a little harsh on it but it definitely showed its age.
It did. It hasn't held up well, but it's a Larry Cohen film. If you know Larry Cohen, he produced a lot of those B movies of the 70s and 80s. He did the whole It's Alive series, for example. Right. You have to go look him up. He's got a long discography of B pictures. And but he takes pride in them. That's what's cool about. Like, he's sort of like Roger Corman was. Like, he takes pride in the kind of the low budget movies he did. Yeah. In fact, I was telling Brian before the podcast that I ended up having to watch this with the commentary turned on because the source I was getting it from, it didn't matter which version I clicked on, it would always play the commentary, and I could not figure out how to get a version without the commentary. So I was like, well,
you will hear Larry Cohen no matter what.
Screw it. I'll just let me tell you, if you've never heard a Larry Cohen commentary, you're missing out. The guy is a brilliant commentator on movies. He's entertaining. He never slows down. He never lets there be a gap. A lot of, like, God bless him, but Toby Hooper's commentaries are terrible. He has to have a moderator basically asking him questions the whole time, or he would just sit there and watch the movie. Like, he's completely. There's long stretches, even with the moderator, there's long stretches of silence where he's just sitting there watching the film. But Larry Cohen talks the whole time. He's this old Hollywood. I mean, the guy's like pushing 80 now. He's this old Hollywood guy, so he has all the stories, he has all the name dropping, and he has all the funny anecdotes from the making of the movie. So if you ever want to seek out a really good commentary, find one for one of his films that he did.
Maybe I'll watch this one, although I don't know if I could sit through it again anytime soon.
David Carradine, Michael Moriarty, and Candy Clark. So it's got a good cast.
Yeah, and Richard Roundtree.
Richard. Oh, that's right, Richard Roundtree. So I'll read you the synopsis, the official synopsis. NYPD detectives Shepard and Powell are working on a bizarre case of a ritualistic Aztec murder. Meanwhile, something big is attacking people of New York, and only greedy, small-time crook Jimmy Quinn knows where its lair is. Now, this film was basically dreamed up and God, like 6 weeks, I think.
Wow.
Maybe 6 days. I don't remember. It was a real rush.
I would even say 6 minutes, possibly.
Yeah. But it is basically a monster movie combined with a police procedural, which is kind of a Cohen trademark.
Yeah, it was kind of like they could have taken out the winged serpent, the whole storyline, and the movie would have been could have been just a normal, typical 70s cop drama. Mm-hmm. You know, with like looking for a little bit like an episode of a TV series. It's funny that they added in this whole mythology of the winged serpent thing, because it was like, at first I'm like, am I watching two different movies? This is weird. It's like, okay, first you just see this something attack this guy and his head gets eaten off. Then you're going back to this gritty cop drama where they're looking for this ritualistic killer. I said, are they trying to tell me this is all going to connect?
Yeah. Well, the monster, I don't believe, I was trying to time it when I was watching it. I don't think you actually see the whole monster until like 45 minutes in.
You don't, well, because you could tell, like, their budget on effects was probably, like, very, very slim. Because, I mean, even though I've seen movies from this time period and the effects have been, you know, yes, they may have been a little stop-motion-y or something, but this one literally tries to do these tricks that that just do not hold up now. And I would mind seeing, like, a modern-day version of this with some modern-day effects, because it probably could be cool. Because, first of all, I love when there's things that like are totally out of place for a city, like when a monster attacks a city. I love that. That's why I loved Cloverfield and the Godzilla movies and King Kong, because I like what, you know, because you don't you expect to see these things out in a far off island, but when they enter your space, it's something kind of exciting about it. So this is kind of a cool idea if you think about it. This cryptozoological winged serpent from the Aztec days floating around New York City. You're like, wow, that's kind of cool. And it's kind of funny how people just don't notice it's going on, you know? It was just pretty much New York, probably. In all honesty, that would be New York. They don't look up. They don't look up. Yeah, they're literally eating their pizza, walking by. I believe me, they're bumping into you because we go in there. I guarantee you this winged serpent could go around for like a few days before someone would actually spot the damn thing. So that part's realistic.
So we have to talk about what exactly this thing is, because from the title it's Q the Winged Serpent, right, which you would think a snake, but he has arms and legs, so he's not really a serpent. He looks more like a dinosaur with wings, but then Larry Cohen during the commentary referred to him as a bird the entire time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because, you know, it definitely almost reminded me of like a pterodactyl. It would be the closest thing I could look at. And it's probably because they probably just had no production design value. And like you said, it was probably done in such a short period of time. And they're just like, all right, quick, it's a winged serpent. But wait, it's got legs. Well, we don't have time to take off the legs. Just put it in. And
well, they did
fly,
say Larry Cohen did say they filmed the entire movie without any effects, and then he just had the effects people put them in. I know you don't believe this. Oh. They actually put him in after the fact, and they were like, even the special effects people were like, "We can't do that." And he was like, "Sure, you can. Just do it."
Oh my god, there was some sequences, and I feel bad because I understand the time period. You know, we're spoiled because now we've lived in the age of amazing effects. But I'm sorry, there was just sequences where it's supposed to be the shadow of this thing going across the city skyline, and it literally just disappears for a second. Like, a shadow would not disappear in the middle of its going by the building. You know, they just couldn't keep up the animation.
In my mind, and I know there's been films after this that use stop motion.
Yeah. But
still, this level of stop motion monster making, to me, just seems that's a little late for this style of stop motion animation. Yeah. I know it's not, because you still had, you had, like, perfect example, Willow in the 80s had a big old stop motion dragon in it, or monster, or whatever, Hydra, or whatever it was. So I know that's, but to me, when I think this level of stop motion, I'm thinking like Ray Harryhausen, like stuff from the 60s.
Yeah. It was like they had the stop, but not the motion, and it was like there was some parts where like Tim and I were laughing before we really signed on to start, where it was like where there was a sequence where like the bird is like literally plucking people off the rooftop, and he's literally like you could just see they're like, okay, throw, and it's like a claymation person getting thrown off.
But it's
somewhere.
not even it's even worse than that, because it's not the claymation figure being thrown off, it's the claymation superimposed on a background of being thrown off, so it's even
that's
worse.
I mean, they couldn't even at least, I mean, that's the thing, that Night of the Lepus movies, at least their effects, they used the forced perspective and the size, the models, it's like they didn't even attempt that in this. They're like, no, we shot the city, that's it, that's all you get, now you find a way to get this effect in there, and it's just like it's hilarious just the way like it goes in, and like and then you got like these like the blood even doesn't even look real when it's dripping on people. I'm like, this is I don't know. I was laughing out loud at some of these sequences, and you're not supposed to laugh at this film.
Yeah, well, I have to say, even though the effects don't hold up, there's something somewhat charming about this movie. I don't know, maybe it's because it's so bad.
I mean
and because you do have some big name actors in it that really, like, okay, Michael Moriarty probably does a little overacting, but still they're putting forth their best effort for this movie that's basically completely ridiculous.
Yeah, but the thing is, I remember as a kid, I remember really liking it, and like I just remember I loved the commercials for it when it was coming out. Like on cable and stuff, because obviously it was in the theaters as the year I was born, but I remember seeing it on cable all the time, like, and and it always had that cool promo for it. I'm like, oh, this is cool, and I when I saw it as a kid, I remember enjoying it, and it's just so funny. So I was like kind of remembering it being like this more grittier, like 70s novel. Like I remember, I was like, all right, I kind of remember the stop motion effects of it, but I don't remember it being this horrible. Now, granted, the version I saw was not remastered. I mean, obviously, maybe a little remastering, a little tweak here could have made it a little bit more tolerable. But, I think this is like, but if you just see it in its raw form or whatever form it's in now, it's just the quality is just so poor, unfortunately, and it doesn't hold up.
What was funny is I was the exact opposite, because I remember as a kid or teenager seeing this in the video store. I always skipped it because I thought it looked so stupid.
Well, because you know why though? It's one thing we see in the video store, but like I remember I would see like the commercials for it, and I remember the old commercials on cable were must have been really cool. Like I remember going through the city and flying through, and they really were. I kind of remember them hiding the serpent a lot, so you didn't know what it was gonna look like, I guess. So it was enough to intrigue whatever I was at that point when I probably saw it. I don't know when it was on cable. I mean, I'm sure it was like 8 or 10 when I had seen it on cable or something like that. So yeah, it was, it definitely, that's the thing is, it's definitely, I did not have fun watching it. It's just I don't know, I guess I had a more fonder memory of it being a little bit better.
Sometimes you can't go back if you remember something from your childhood.
Yeah. Although I guarantee you, if this ever comes released on Blu-ray, I can probably see myself buying it anyway, just because.
I think it's out on Blu-ray. I want to say it.
Is it?
It may be. I'm pretty sure it is.
I think I need a better feature, like maybe like a Shout Factory release of it.
Yeah. The commentary was great. Like I said, and one of the interesting things was they filmed this in the actual Chrysler building, and so all those scenes you see where they're up in the top of the building. In that junk pile, I mean, it looked like a just dilapidated.
Yeah, it was all like
all that is the actual room at the top of the Chrysler building.
That's crazy. That kind of
not a set, yeah.
And it's kind of sad because the Chrysler building looks so cool and majestic, and you look and you realize it's basically like garbage, apparently, in the top spire there.
Yeah, they basically begged the people to let them use that room, and then that one ladder that Michael Moriarty goes up to get to the very, very top. He said that's literally the ladder that goes to the very top needle of the Chrysler building. He said up there, he's like, they were scared to death because there's no handrails, there's nothing up there, and the windows are open, so there's no glass in those.
Oh my God!
It's completely just open air. I mean, I don't know how it is now, but that's what at the time they filmed it. That's what it was like. So,
okay, so you were right. There is actually, it's only $9 on Blu-ray.
Well, there you go.
But I don't know if they I'm trying to see if there's any special features on it. Okay, well, I want to read to you this. I'm looking at the thing. Listen, it says, its name is Quetzalcoatl, a dragon-like Aztec god that is summoned to modern-day Manhattan by a mysterious cult. But just call it Q, because that's all you'll be able to say before it tears you apart. Roosting within top of the Chrysler building, this fearsome monster begins raining blood from the bodies of window washers, construction workers, and rooftop sunbathers alike. Basically, the first 3 victims, they just tell you, onto the streets of New York. So, it's kind of funny, though. If you think about it, like you basically this Aztec creature is basically houses itself in the Chrysler building.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea of the film was. I think I read this in the trivia somewhere that somebody remarked to Larry Cohen like that would be a perfect place for a nest or something like that. Looking up at the Chrysler building, that's where kind of this idea came from. There is some interesting trivia about this movie about who it could have starred.
Really?
At one time, yes. So, believe it or not, there was a young actor who I believe was working as a bartender who was up for the lead role. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think it was David Carradine's role, but he was kind of unproven. So Larry Cohen passed on him because he really needed the international business for this film. So he needed name recognition, and David Carradine had that name recognition. That's why he went with him. But the actor in question was a very young Bruce Willis.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow, I could see that, him being in that. Like I could see modern day. Maybe they'll have to do the modern day version of it and have Bruce Willis star in it.
Yeah. Well, even crazier than that is, according to Larry Cohen, there was a young black comic that was also up for a role in this. In fact, he had already promised the role to Michael Moriarty, but he was thinking about giving this other actor a shot.
Let me guess.
Actor. All right,
Richard Pryor.
Nope, not Richard Pryor. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, okay.
So, in fact, Larry Cohen mentions in the commentary, he says, so in some alternate universe, this movie could have starred Bruce Willis and Eddie Murphy.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
You know what needs to do that? What's that? Funny or Die. They need to do that.
Yeah.
Like the
yeah, that'd be awesome.
And by the way, what did I say? I said, now I'm going to have to buy it or I'm going to look like a full liar. I'm going to have to order Q on Blu-ray because it is released by Shout Factory.
Oh, there you
So now I am going to have to order $9.39 for The Winged Serpent. Actually, if I just wait till next month, I'll probably get it for free because I usually get about $10 of Amazon points a month. So. Oh, and by the way, you know what I'd love to see? Like Q versus Q-Bert. That would be an interesting.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be kind of exciting.
Well, the great thing about Q is that whenever they do those horror movie alphabet things, they've always got a Q.
That's true. And realize I always kind of wanted to buy that movie just because I felt like I had to have a like a letter of each alphabet in my video collections from back when it was videotapes to DVDs and now to Blu-rays. So like, I thank God that more came out though, because otherwise I was gonna get stuck with Quigley Down Under or Q the Winged Serpent. I think they both end up being replaced with Quick Change.
Well, Quiet Place comes out. You could kind of
there you go.
Now I have this weird thing where anytime I see an alphabet book. Because obviously I look at children's books a lot, having kids in the bookstore. Anytime I see an alphabet book, I impulsively have to open it up and see what they put for Q and X. Just to see, like, if they cheated.
Yeah, they cheat with X a lot.
X, they cheat a lot. Yeah, they'll put exactly. I'm like, no. There was one animal book I saw. They did an X animal that I had never heard of. But I looked it up and it was a real animal. Sorry, I was impressed with that one. I was like, yeah, that's legit. And you're pulling up some crazy, like, freakish Australian animal that just happens to begin with X that nobody's ever heard of. But because you were not willing to cheat by putting an X-ray. Oh, yeah. So, but could you get, like, could the xenomorph count? Like from Alien? Is that count in a kid's book or probably not, huh? Yeah, no. So I don't know how much more do we have to say about Q the Winged Serpent? It's kind of I don't know. It's not a good movie.
No.
The effects don't hold up, but there is a certain amount of charm to it, and the police procedural the police procedural monster movie mix is kind of a weird, interesting thing.
Yeah, it's like I get, it's definitely like, it's not a movie that you're not going to have fun watching. It's in some way, whether you like just those gritty cop dramas, or you like Aztecian lore, or bad effects. One of these, there'd probably be something that you'll find entertaining. I could see this being a great like Mystery Science Theater type of thing, or a Civil Gore commentary, something like that. I think it'd be fun. But I mean, I was having fun watching it regardless. It's like, groaning at some of the effects and lines, but yeah.
Well, let's delve into the real cryptozoology behind winged snakes. So, Believe it or not, there is actually a group of sightings of supposed flying serpents and winged snakes. There was some back in Texas around the late 1800s, early 1900s. In fact, there was one report where they actually captured a specimen, a dead specimen. They collected a specimen of a foot-long snake with wings, but apparently that specimen has been lost to history, unfortunately. So we have no record of it other than reports of the time. But there have been numerous sightings of winged snakes over the years, ranging from little dragonfly-sized ones to all the way to gigantic ones. And when I was doing the research on this, I vaguely remembered back in high school learning about some actual real quote-unquote flying snakes. And so I started down this path of looking these up. There actually are snakes that they call quote-unquote flying snakes. They're really gliding snakes, and they're called paradise snakes. And they live in Indonesia.
I think I've seen that on like one of the nature channels, right?
Yeah, they live in Indonesia, and they actually, you can go look up videos if you think I'm lying. You can go look up videos on YouTube. They basically hang off of the tree in like a J shape, and then they launch themselves off the tree, and they basically flatten their bodies so that they glide a little bit, and then land into another branch or another tree.
Yeah,
I
think I saw that on one of the channels where they showed that. They kind of like almost like if you had like a Nerf flying snake toy or something, where it like kind of boomerangs itself, like kind of
I mean, it's not like
bounces off. Yeah.
It's not like it's soaring through the air or anything.
Yeah,
it's basically just slowly. It's kind of slowing down its plummet.
Yeah, kind of like one of those canned snakes when you open up the peanut can and the snake flies out and goes about a foot. That's about these flying snakes, right? Yeah, from what I remember seeing on the video, that's about the extent.
So like the lepus from the giant hares or the king hares from last episode, you don't get a lot of flying snake stories. Out there, but there are some in the cryptozoology annals of time. There have been sightings of these things.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though. It's like there's enough scary things about snakes to begin with that don't add flight to them. They were already scary enough. Like rabbits, are usually just okay. They're cool, just to make them giant and bloodthirsty. Yes, that would make them creepy. But normally a rabbit is not scary. But snakes will scare you enough to begin with. Not that I've seen too many of them like out in the open, but I've actually had a giant when Julie and I were on our cruise. I had one of those giant pythons. They bring you, or whatever, the ones, those huge ones that they put on your neck,
like a
to
boa
pose for
constrictor.
pictures. Kinda, yeah. And this thing, maybe I'll have to share the picture of it. I'll have to post it on the Civil Gore site of me like holding this giant snake. And it's so funny because it moves so slow. It doesn't even feel like, you don't even know what the heck you're putting on your shoulder. You might as well just be putting on a really heavy scarf, because you don't, they just kind of put it on for you. You take the picture, then they move it over. It's so big, you don't even see the head where it is, it's like, I mean, I tell you, like, in the picture you could tell where it is, but it's funny. It's just like it's such a non-entity. Like I thought I'd be freaked out by it, but I didn't.
Yeah, they have them at they have a reptile event at the aquarium here, and they'll usually let you pet one. And I've held some of them, not the big ones, but like some smaller snakes.
Yeah,
and they're not slimy. They're just kind of cold and rough.
Yeah. There's nothing. Yeah,
there's nothing to them.
I think it's the more the fear of you know, like if you see them just floating around, sliding around the floor unattended by a staffer, you might get a little nervous.
I'm not too. I would say I'm not terribly afraid of snakes. I've run into them. I lived out in the woods for a while there, and we'd run into copperheads and stuff like that. I'm not saying I would like go and. I don't seek them out or anything.
Yeah, I
never would want one as a pet, but I don't.
No, yeah,
yeah. They don't like scare me really.
Yeah, no, I'm not like Indiana Jones terrified of snakes, but I'm not exactly like I wouldn't go seeking them out. Like they're in a cage, okay, that's fine. They're in a thing. Like I've seen like king cobras in like a reptile museum type of thing, and they even actually in Long Island there was a story. They had this reptile museum on Long Island. I remember my friend Mark and I went, and but apparently at one point there was a guy. There was a king cobra, and it was in this one of those big glass encounters kind of things, in the kind of in like it was four glass walls in the kind of center of this room, and. So apparently it was the story was that the guy went in there to clean the cage, and they always told you whatever you do, you go in there, do not I said you do something to get the snake on the other side of the room, and you go in, and they said whatever you do, don't turn your back. And I don't know what this guy did. They said I guess because I guess what he did is he went to step out, forgot something, and he walked back in quickly. And then when he turned his back to check something on the door, the snake was like right behind him, and it bit him, and he had to get rushed to the hospital. This whole to-do. But yeah, I remember because it was in the local papers, obviously being on Long Island, it's not really hearing someone bit by a king cobra is not like an everyday occurrence. so I guess it was important for the news. But yeah, so that was like a fun kind of thing, the little reptile museum. But, so I've seen these things, and as long as they're behind something like that, like a glass thing, I'm okay. I don't, like I said, if I probably saw a king cobra out in the wild, I'd probably be not here right now, because I'd probably have had a heart attack and passed out and died. But, yeah.
So what's our beer pairing for this week?
Okay, so since there was no beer called Out of Date Bad Effect Movie... No, I'm kidding. Poor Larry Cohen. No, he made an attempt. So I found a beer. It was a brewery called Winged Serpent out of Manteca, California, and they have a specific beer called Serpent Speech. So not that the Q or Quetzalcoatl ever spoke in this film. I still figured that was the right choice out of Winged Serpent. So yeah, it's a blonde ale, Belgian-inspired blonde ale with clean, crisp, full-flavored that goes well with or without a good meal.
Or without a dead window washer.
Yeah, right. Perverted dead window washer, apparently. But yeah, that actress was somebody. I forgot to mention that earlier.
She looked familiar. She did.
Oh, Mary Louise Weller. That's right. She was from Animal House.
Oh yeah.
So Mandy Pepperidge, from Animal House. So there you go. So there was some. There's a little reference in there, and she played an episode of Fantasy Island. So,
as did everybody in the 70s.
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Probably everyone in this cast.
They're either on Love Boat or Fantasy Island or both.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. It's funny that you would recognize in this film from other like little character actors in there too, which is funny.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Larry Cohen uses a lot of the same people, I think.
Yeah, one of my favorite spotting ones was Shelley Desai, which was he's been in a lot of Kevin James movies, including Paul Blart.
But not Paul Blart 2.
No, actually, that's the one he was in. Sorry, Paul Blart 2 he was in. Yes,
that's even better.
So look at that. So we just, believe it or not, we were able to bring Paul Blart 2 back in there. Yeah, he played one of the security guards in Vegas. But yeah, and he was also in Here Comes a Boom. He played one of his guys that was in that the citizens class that he taught. So so he's but he was much younger than that, and he was actually the guy that was the Aztec leader that kept getting shot 50 times and not died for some odd reason.
Nice.
But yeah, so, and I love that was the classic line. Remember, boy, he's tough to kill. With David Carradine.
Yeah,
it's great.
Oh man.
So
yeah, it's worth seeing once. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. You'll probably have a good time watching it. Like I said, I don't know if it's one that's going to be in your yearly repertoire, but yeah, every once in a while might be fun.
So, our 6 degrees of decapitation. Last week, we asked you to connect Janet Leigh to Jennifer Jason Leigh. This was an easy one.
Yeah.
Janet Leigh was in The Romance of Rosie Ridge with Dean Stockwell, and Dean Stockwell was in The Quickie with Jennifer Jason Leigh.
And look, there was another Q movie we could have.
There you go. Did it in 2.
Had in my repertoire. Yep.
Then we also asked you to connect DeForest Kelly to Forrest Whitaker, who I somehow got those confused.
You gotta love my play on words, right?
Yeah. So DeForest Kelly was in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock with Frank Welker. And Frank Welker was in Species with Forrest Whitaker.
And that's our second Frank Welker connection. He was in another previous one we did, I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. So he might have his own thing now. The 6 degrees of Frank Welker.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say we need to connect him to Kevin Bacon and see if there's have a connection off or something. So the current week, more of Brian's wordplay here. We're going to ask you to connect Richard Roundtree with Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes. You thought I went away, but I'm back. Yeah, Faye. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, see if you could do that. Pull that one off.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I had a couple of other ones. It was funny though. I was trying to really get bizarre, like seeing if there was anyone named like something Bob, like Squarebush, or to go with the Roundtree joke, but I just couldn't find it. I'm like, all right, let me find a Richard, and then I'm like, okay, that one's easy. I actually thought of, it was funny. You could also connect it, by the way, just as a bonus. You can connect it in the same amount of spaces to Richard Simmons. So Richard Roundtree.
Well, there you go. Oh, awesome.
So the Richards, I guess, stick together in some form. They're always around.
Well, next week we are going to do a Bigfoot / Sasquatch movie of some sort. We just don't know which one yet because there's such a bounty to choose from. Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to do Willow Creek. We've both seen it a couple times, so I don't know if that's if that's what we'll end up doing. I mean, it could be one that I definitely think we should mention it. In terms of out of all those Bigfoot Sasquatch movies, that's definitely one of my favorites, the Bobcat Goldthwait's. I'm
trying to find one. I would like to look and see, and there may not be one, but I'd like to see if there's one we have not seen yet that has gotten really good reviews, maybe. Yeah, we should look that up. I know Amazon Prime has a ton. Most of them look like crap, but there is I kind of want to maybe stick away from the you're right. I'd like to find one that's not as well known, but it's gotten some good reviews and that we both haven't seen. So hey, you know what? During the week, up until I'd say even the next few days, we'll need to know. Oh, actually, by the time you're hearing this, we'll probably have picked it by now. So never mind. I was going to say you guys can help us pick it, but I guess that might be too late. Maybe what we'll do is, by the time you're hearing this, we'll post it out on social media, so that way you can get prepared,
help us by this point. Yeah.
All right. Well, as usual, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Drop us a line at civilgorepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week. Yes, and remember, if it's not a bird, it's a plane. It's Q the Winged Serpent. Thank you.